You know, the drug fentanyl has a grip on this country and our community. Many worry it can't be broken, and it does not matter if you live in the city or in rural towns. The struggle is the same.
Yeah, and tonight, one Virginia woman fighting for her life sits down with investigative reporter Ted Oberg and the News 4 I-team for an eye-opening talk about her journey to recovery and why she's not giving up on herself or others.
Walking into Denise Sharati's apartment, you are quite literally surrounded by love.
These are cards from everyone throughout the years that people have given me.
So why do you keep them up?
I keep them up just to give me encouragement, remind me that I am loved and people do care about me.
But the journey to this moment has cost her a lot.
It's a lot of shame, and in certain places I go, I feel I can't tell people I'm an addict because they'll judge me.
And yet you do.
I do, right.
So why?
I want to help people. There's people like me who are in my shoes.
She's lost friends to the drug fentanyl, too many to count, and knows it's a miracle she's still even here.
For me, it's a brain disease. I can't just do one and stop.
An addict since she was a teen, her pathway to fentanyl didn't start until about a decade ago.
I was a boxer, and I messed my knees up, and I had to have both my knees replaced in 2012.
OxyContin, prescribed by a doctor for pain, even with her known addiction history, became too expensive. Fentanyl soon became her drug of choice.
It's cheaper and it's more powerful. I think that's it.
For people who've never taken it, what's it feel like?
Oh God, I can't even, it feels really good. It feels really good. I don't know, it feels really good.
That's honest.
Yeah, yeah.
But that high at just $1 a pill often has an even bigger price.
You're either going to get addicted or you're going to die. There is no one time with this drug. That's how powerful it is. It's pushed out coke, it's pushed out heroin, it's pushed out Molly, it's pushed out meth, morphine, all that. It's pushed out everything.
What's the danger in fentanyl replacing all the rest of that stuff?
It's killing people because the drug dealers think it'll cost, they get addicted, they'll come back to me. But they're killing their clientele because there's people who have not used before and don't know.
Last year, almost 2,000 people in Virginia died from fentanyl, making up 75% of all fatal drug overdoses, according to the Department of Health. Denise remembers the day she almost joined that list.
It happened right there. When I woke up, a friend of mine had came in. I still had the needle in my arm. And when she Narcaned me, I was throwing up.
But even that wasn't enough to make her stop. It took losing friends, spending her last $2 on one last hit to admit her truth.
I just got tired of hiding. I was ashamed at first because I had pickleball friends who were lawyers and doctors, and on this side I had users and addicts and recovering addicts, and it was like two of me.
This isn't her first attempt at sobriety. The day we spoke with her, she told us she'd been clean for 55 days. How proud are you of where you are today?
I'm pretty proud.
Should be. Volunteering with the Arlington Addiction Recovery Initiative, telling her story keeps her focused.
I do it because it keeps me clean. It keeps me going. I have an obligation, I feel, because people have saved my life. So I go on for the people that their lives have not been saved. And that's what pushes me as well.
And while eradicating the fentanyl crisis feels impossible at times, she says saving one more life, maybe even her own, is worth doing. What did you want more than anything when you were alone and using?
I think the one thing I wanted was I didn't want to die. I couldn't stop using. And I didn't want to die.
And in that moment, when she thought her last breath might come, she prayed.
I just asked God, I said, God, please just let me get through this. And I promise I will try to do better. And I asked him to use me.
How do you know he heard you?
Right now. This moment. I couldn't see it then, but I see it now.
We are so thankful to Denise for sharing her story. A new report from the Virginia Department of Health predicts that the current rate fentanyl overdose deaths could surpass the deaths in 2022. It is just so widely available and so easy to get. She told us staying high on cocaine for a weekend could cost $400. Fentanyl, just $20 for the same time. We asked her, what's the best thing you could say to someone you love who is using? She said, just tell them you love them. They're not alone and that you're not going to give up on them. If you know someone or that someone is you who's struggling with addiction, we've posted some helpful resources right at our website, and we do hope you check them out. Sitting on a plane next to his mother, Sarah, Aiden Lowry seemed to be a young man going places, a high school student with dreams of fancy cars, fancy jobs, and living in London.
There was, this energetic, like I said, super active, full of life kid with, goals and dreams, straight A student.
COVID shutdown hit Aiden hard. Isolation, Sarah told us, led to anxiety to depression. Experimentation with a new friend led to marijuana in a THC vape, Sarah tells us.
It's actually completely crazy to think that it was happening right under my nose, in my home.
Aiden's parents thought it was a mental health issue, sending him to therapist and a psychiatrist, but the kid who once shared everything with his mom was now keeping lots of secrets. When the THC wasn't enough, Aiden at some point tried what he thought was Percocet, a dangerous but if legit pharmaceutical-grade oxycodone opioid pill. But as it is in way too many cases, that pill wasn't legit. A drug test found Aiden had fentanyl in his system. Aiden told his mom he had no idea how it got there. Sarah certainly didn't either.
He really struggled with that because he really wanted to be a good person.
How often was he using?
He was using every single day.
Sarah told us the police have yet to find the person supporting Aiden's descent into addiction, but we do know the drug was easy to get. At the time Aiden was using, federal court records show this man, Alpha Camaro, was one of the dealers flooding the Prince William County community with cheap fentanyl.
I think you get a little jaded in this line of work about how much of this there is.
Court records show Camaro was wholesaling thousands of fentanyl pills in the area, pressed into Percocet lookalikes. And so to a kid who got them?
Would look like legitimate Percocet.
It's grinding, it's daunting.
At the DEA's drug lab in Largo, Maryland, supervisory chemist Jacqueline Brown showed the I-team just a small amount of their lab's recent haul. Here, every analyst has to work fentanyl cases every day just to keep up.
6 and 10 pills have a lethal dosage in them.
The U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia, Jessica Hebert, says Camaro was selling to smaller-scale dealers in the area. We don't know if the person who sold Aiden pills bought from Camaro, but his case shows how cheap and widespread the supply of deadly fentanyl was when Aiden was using. How many days had he been off home confinement before he gets arrested again?
2 days. Yeah, it's crazy.
Alpha Camaro was convicted in 2018 of a gun and drug charge and released from home confinement in May of last year. Federal court records show just 3 days after that home confinement ended, Camaro had fentanyl suppliers in Scottsdale, Arizona and Seattle, Washington, sending him thousands of pills, likely supplied through Mexico, all of it, court records showed, traveling through the U.S. mail.
All right, I'm right on him.
The fight against Alpha Camaro ended June 26th of last year, a chase down I-95 at 140 miles an hour.
All right, 1050. 1050 into the guardrail.
Camaro flipped the stolen Dodge Charger, seen in this police dashcam video.
Hands up!
He was driving and survived. When officers searched the car, court records show they found a handgun, 18,000 fentanyl pills, and $13,000 in cash. Court records show he'd sold 10,000 pills just the day before. One dealer, 3 days off his last sentence. It's amazing, isn't it?
It is amazing. It's horrifying, actually.
If one pill can make an addict, if one pill can be fatal, think of how many lives and families 18,000 pills affect.
He said, I've ruined my life. He was desperate for change.
Last fall, Aiden agreed to another rehab, this time in Florida. That's where he and his mom were headed in that smiling picture. But a day after checking in, Aiden ran away from the Florida center, and they ended up sending him home.
I remember him just telling me, you don't know how hard this is for me.
Thanksgiving passed and Christmas approached. The pull of the pill he never wanted to take was just too much. Do you think in the end he knew he was using fentanyl?
He did know in the end.
And that's what he wanted? Do you think that's what he sought out?
I do.
On a Saturday morning in December,
I went into his bedroom and
Sarah found her son.
I saw him there with his eyes closed, and I called his name, and he didn't answer. And I started calling it louder, and he didn't do anything. And he wasn't moving, and I knew then.
Months after they buried Aiden, Alpha Kamara was sentenced to more than 11 years in prison for drug charges. There are no winners in the fight against fentanyl.
I'm angry at addiction, and I'm angry at the creators of this pill. I think that, I honestly think that he was somewhat innocent in this, like that he did not ask for this and certainly didn't understand what he was getting himself into.
She is so brave to share what that family has gone through, and we can't thank her enough. She speaks out as often as she can now, pushing for more treatment, more harm reduction, more prevention efforts at area schools. The U.S. Attorney Jessica Hebert calls fentanyl one of the greatest public safety crises we face. She tells us Kamara showed no remorse through this process, but keep in mind, he's not some mainstream dealer. He's one guy operating at the time. Our attempts to reach him in prison were unsuccessful.